Hey everyone, welcome or welcome back to the Missy Money channel. I'm Missy, I'm a mom of 3 and the owner of Missy Money, a small business that specializes in minimalist and aesthetic cash stuffing essentials to help inspire and motivate you on your personal finance and budgeting journey. Today I'm going to be doing my cash unstuffing for the month of September, which is my process of reconciling for credit and debit card transactions. So if you're interested in learning more, stay tuned. Guys, this is my cash unstuffing for the month of September, which will allow me to reconcile for any credit or debit card transactions that I have made for this month. If you are new to cash stuffing or new to my channel, I use the spent envelope method as part of my cash stuffing method, which lets me use kind of the cash stuffing method and all the amazing things about it, while also enabling me to use credit cards and debit cards. I know for me personally, using credit cards, mostly credit cards, I use debit card every so often, but mostly credit cards, but cards are just an important part of my system. I'm a mom of 3. I have to be able to make online purchases, and so using cash for every single purchase is just not realistic in my life, and probably not realistic in yours as well. But there are so many benefits to the cash stuffing system that it's important for me to be able to use both the cash stuffing system but also have cards integrated within it. So I personally use the spent envelope method. It's essentially creating a cash representation of my card purchases. And so what that means is if I make a purchase that is on my credit card or debit card, I move the money from the appropriate envelope that represents that purchase and I put it back into my spent envelope. So let's say that I make a grocery purchase and for some reason I wanted to use a card, maybe just for convenience, or I make a gas purchase and it's easier for me to use a card at the moment. What I'll do is move the equivalent amount of cash of whatever that card purchase is from the appropriate envelope back into my spent envelope. Now, sometimes I make spent envelope purchases that I am not able to move right away. So for example, I keep all of my sinking fund envelopes at home. So if I make a clothing purchase online, for example, I might not have that envelope with me right away if it's sitting at home in my sinking fund binder. And so in that case, what I'll do is I'll pull out my expense tracker and I'll write down, just like I did here, clothing, and I'll write down the amount that I need to move. And then during the process of reconciling for those card transactions, I'll go through those sinking fund envelopes and move the money from those envelopes into my spent envelope. Now at the end of the month, what I do is I unstuff my spent envelope, I count up all the cash from all my purchases, and I use that cash to pay off my credit card to ensure that I am not incurring any interests or fees from the purchases that I've made over the past month. Now I do an unstuffing every 2 weeks and kind of reconcile my card transactions on a 2-week rolling basis. I actually used to do it every 1 week, and if you're just getting started with this method, I recommend that you do it more often because it helps you keep tabs on how much cash you have in all of your envelopes, including your sinking fund envelopes. But now that I've been doing this system for a while, I decided to move to an every other week unstuffing, and that cadence has been working well for me. I know some people even wait until the end of the month to do their unstuffings, and if that works for you, that's awesome. I still like this every other week cadence, so I'm going to stick with that at least for a bit. But because I do an unstuffing every other week, I actually have already completed my unstuffing for weeks 1 and 2. And so in this video, we are going to pop back so I can show you my unstuffing from week 1 and 2. All right, guys, weeks 1 and 2 unstuffing. So let's go ahead and see what we have got here. We're going to flip back to my spent envelope, and I'm just going to go ahead and move this off to the side, and we will start going through these transactions. So I'm going to go ahead and pull out my short-term sinking fund binder. I think most of what I have is in here. So let's just go ahead and go in order. Shopping, I know I had quite a few transactions and I'm not sure I have enough in here to cover, so we might have to dip into miscellaneous. So looks like I've got a $105 plus 40, so I'm up to 145 and 25, so 170 I need to pull out of shopping. Let's see what we have. 20, 40, 60, 80, 100, 10, 20, 30, 40, 45. So I've got 145 in shopping. I need to pull $25 out of Oops here to cover the balance of it. And I don't have that, so I will go ahead and do a 20, a 10, and I'm gonna pull the 5 from here. So I keep oops as whole as possible. Sorry if that part was off camera. Hopefully that made sense. And then I'm just gonna double check and make sure that I've got 170 here now. So let's go ahead and do that check. 20, I think that was right. Yep. 20, 40, 60, 80, 100, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70. Yes, perfect. So I can go ahead and check off those 3. Shopping, shopping, shopping. Perfect. All right, let's next move into clothing. I think I've got one clothing item in here for $75. So let's see. Kind of same thing here. I do not have 75 exactly, so I'm going to go ahead and go 20, 40, 60, $80 out of here. And then I've got a 5, so I'll go ahead and pull that back and then pop the rest of that into clothing here. Check that one off. All right, date night. I didn't spend anything this week. Family fun. I think there was at least one. Yep, $25. So I'm gonna go ahead and see. Same thing here. I don't have a 5, so I'm gonna pull a 20 and a 10. And then we will go ahead and pull the other 5 that I saw back. Pop that back into family fun. All right, so let's see. I think I did have a self-care for $45. So let's see here. I do not have $45. I do not know if I have any more 5s though. Ooh, I do have more 5s. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and take this 50 and then bring a 5 back. And that will be good for self-care. Let's see what else we've got. Lola and Luna need $55. I'm gonna go ahead and pull that 50 and a 5 over. That will work for them. That was for food. And then gifts. I did have 1 gifts. So I needed $95 for that. I, again, do not have any 5s, so I'll go 20, 40, 60, 80, 100. Just make sure that's right. 20, 40, 60, 80, 100. Yep, that's right. And then I'll pull the 5 back. Check off gifts. And then it looks like my last 2 are for school. So school, I need $80. I will go ahead and pull a 50, a 20, and a 10 for that. And then we will be all set for those 2 school transactions. Whoops, guys, I messed up. I needed another $35 for school. So let's see if I've got, I don't have that, but I've got 55. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull 55 over and then just pull a 20 back. All right, and that is it for school. That's it for my short-term sinking fund binder. So I'm gonna go ahead and put that away. And then I will go ahead and just pop my expense tracker back in to my spent envelope and that'll be ready for weeks 3 and 4. So that's it for my unstuffing for the first 2 weeks. All right, guys, time for week 3 and 4 unstuffing. So let's go ahead and pop back to my spent envelope here. I am going to pull out my spent envelope cash and just move it to the side right here and then pull out my tracker because we are going to need to unstuff quite a few envelopes here. So first, I'm going to pull out my short-term sinking funds. And we are just going to go through these because I know that I have got quite a few of these envelopes that I'm going to need to unstuff. So starting with shopping. I've got a $45 transaction on this side and then a $30 and a 60 on this side. So that's 90, 135. So let's see what I've got. I definitely am not going to have all of that in here. So I've got $60 in here. I need 135 total. So I'm going to come back here to oops, and let's think about this. $60 I will put over there, and then I'll still need 75. So I'm going to go ahead and do, I'm able to do that. So we'll do 50, 75. So that'll be 135 total, and I can mark off those 3 transactions. All right, so we'll go 1, nope, 2, and 3. All right, next is going to be clothing. And this is another one where I had a little bit of a bigger kind of out of the ordinary transaction. So we'll see if I am able to cover it. Guys, my brain is not working. It is night. I'm doing this at night again. And doing these unstuffings at night is like really, really testing my brain power that I have left at the end of the night. I'm in reserves. Okay, so I've got 120 on that side. That's the only clothing transaction that I have. So let's see if I've got it here. 20, 40, 60, 80, 90, 100. 10, 20. That's great. Just do that again. 20, 40, 60, 80, 90, 100, 10, 20. Perfect. So I was able to cover that. No shocker there. That was for kid clothing. Getting ready for the next season. All right, school. School, I've got a 40 on this side and a 40 on the other. So let's pop back to that. Be $80 total. So I'll move 100 over there, pull a 20 back. We can mark off that one. We're done with that side, and then mark off that one. All right, looks like gifts is next. And gifts, I need, let's see, I've got 2. So 140 and 25. So I'll need 165. This is going to be another one that I don't know that I've got that. So I'll have to go into oops, I think, for this. So gifts, 165. Let's see what we've got. 20, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, 10, 15. So I've got 115. I needed 165. So I'll need a 50 to make that whole. So I'll pull the 50 over. And that marks off that gifts and that gifts. And then I'm going to skip this one because we're going to have to talk about that one. I did not plan for that at all. And we'll do family fun first. So family fun, I need 55, 20, 40, 55. All right, guys. Yep. All right, so that is going to be family fun. All right, now let's have a little story time because the other day, Dan brought up the really, really smart point that we need to do passports for our family. His passport is expired, my passport is expired, and the kids do not have passports. And in order to go on a cruise, which is our family plan, as you all know, that we've been saving for Lord knows how long now, we are going to need passports. And I have not gotten a passport for at least like 12 years. Well, it's been at least 10 years because ours recently expired. And passports, my friends, for a family of 5 are wickedly expensive, as are even like photos, like passport photos. Anyway, we spent $650 getting these passport applications in and filled out, and oh my goodness, it was quite the sticker shock. And I was not planning for this. I was not planning for it in our magical vacation savings challenge. I should have thought about it and, you know, had it as part of our miscellaneous, but I just didn't. Or pre-trip prep. It honestly would have been a really good expense for pre-trip prep, looking back on it, but I just didn't think about it. So here's what we're gonna do. We are going to first pull short-term sinking funds back out, and I am going to just empty. Oops, I know that's not going to cover it, but that's the first thing we're going to do. Let's see how much we've got here because we need to get to 650. So we've got 50, 70, 90, 110, 130, 150, 170, 180, 190, 200, 10, 20, 30. So 230 we've got. And sorry, I'm just going to mark a note for myself on the side here. So that leaves us with $420 that we still need to solve for. So here's what we're gonna do. I think the closest category I have that I would pull from for this would be annual passes. Now, what this means is that I am going to need to resave quite a bit in this in order to make our resubscription dates for passes to the zoo and aquarium, which is where we typically pull this from. But I think I'll still be able to do that even if I pull from annual passes for this. It's not an annual pass, but a passport is a pass. So it's kind of the closest category that I've got. I need $420 more to hit what I will need for this. So let's see if I've got enough in annual passes. 100, 200, 250, 270, 290, 310, 330, 350, 370, 390, 410, 415. I'm $5 off. Let's see if I've got anything left in my variable expenses from this week that I can pull to make it up. I've got $5 left in Say Yes, so I'm gonna pull that, and I think that's gonna be all she wrote. And honestly, if that is all it takes to get to what we needed, that was not as bad as I thought it was gonna be. But let's do a double count and see. And then we'll just need to make some extra contributions to annual passes to build that back up before December. I looked and both of those renew in December, so we've got a couple months to get there on that, which will be good. All right, let's count this up, make sure it's 650. And if so, then we have solved for this pretty well. All right, 100, 200, 50, 300, 20, 40, 60, 80, 400. Is that a single bill? It is, it's just crispy. 400, 20, 40, 60, 80, 500, 20, 40, 60, 70, 80, 90, 600, 10, 20, 30, 35, 40. Did I count that wrong, guys? 100, 200, 50, 300, 20, 40, 60, 80, 400, 20, 40, 60, 80, 500, 20, 40, 60, 70, 80, 90, 600, 10, 20, 30, 35, 40. Why did I think I got there? All right, I need 10. I'm going to do the same thing and flip through, see what's left in my variable expenses, and see if I can get it somewhere in here. Got a $10 left in gas. Normally I would roll that over, but we're just going to pull it for this. All right, guys, this is messy, but you know what? This is real. So bringing you along the journey with me. 100, 200, 250, 300, 20, 40, 60, 80, 400, 20, 40, 60, 80, 500, 20, 40, 60, 70, 80, 90, 600, 10, 20, 30, 40, 45, 50. All right. That is all she wrote for passports. So that was messy, but we got it figured out. And I'm glad we didn't have to dip into emergency. That's what I was going to do if I didn't have enough to cover it via other mechanisms, was go into my emergency envelope, but I really didn't want to do that if I didn't have to. So glad we didn't have to do that. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is going to, just off camera real quick, go ahead and add all of these up to see what I should expect my cash total to be here from my spent envelope. So give me a second to do that. All right, guys, so my total from all of my spent envelope transactions that I'm expecting in this pile would be $2,080. So the first thing I'm going to go ahead and do here is organize my cash so we can Use all 20s. So we can go ahead and give it a count and see if that total is accurate to what I expected. So all right, so we have a lot of bills in this Unstuffing, but we will go ahead and give it a count here. So I am going to go ahead and give it a count. I'm going to make piles of 1,000. So again, I need $2,080 if I did this all accurately, which we'll see if that ended up being the case this month. All right, so let's go ahead and count. 100, 250, 300. We are not off to a good start, guys. Let's just start this over. I did not feel good about that counting juju. 100, 200, 250, 300, 350, 400, 450, 500, 550, 600, 650, 700, 750, 770, 790, 810, 830, 850, 870, 890, 910, 930, 950, 970, 990. And I'm going to pull a 10 out of this pile to make that an even 1,000. All right. 20, 40, 60, 80, 100, 20, 40, 60, 80, 200, 20, 40, 60, 80, 300, 20, 40, 60, 80, 400, 20, 40, 60, 80, 500, 20, 40, 60, 80, 600, 20, 40, 60, 80, 90, 700, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 800, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 900, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 1,000. 10, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60, 65, 70, 75, 80. I am a little bit shocked it worked out that well, but that is exactly what we expected. So that is $2,080. Now, I did take a look at my credit card. I did not have any debit card expenses during this month, and I did go ahead and take a look at my credit card for the month, and my credit card bill was $1,997.32. So again, I would expect my credit card to be under my total cash count for the month, and that is because when I make credit card purchases, I am always rounding up to the nearest $5 purchase. That's because I don't like singles in my system, so I like making sure that I'm rounding up to the nearest 5 to help keep singles out of my system. Then by doing that, and making sure that I am saving more than what I will need to pay off my credit card bill. So again, $2,080 here, $1,997.32 on my credit card. I will go ahead and deposit this cash into the bank and use it to pay off my credit card. And then I'll have a little bit of extra surplus in the bank, but I'm totally okay with that. I would rather have that surplus in there. And by paying off my credit card in full, I am assuring that I will not have any fees or interest related to the credit card transactions that I made this past month. So that is it for my September unstuffing. I hope it was at least interesting or helpful for you. If you have any questions about kind of the credit card and debit card process within the cash stuffing system, you can check out one of two videos. I have a video that's just on this process of using credit cards and debit cards. And I also have a video called The Complete Guide to Cash Stuffing that goes through the process in detail as well in kind of chapter formats, and also answers a ton of questions on the cash stuffing system and all the different parts of it. So anyway, thank you so much for hanging in there for this one. I know it was a little bit different and needing to hunt for a place to pay off that passport's expense, but appreciate you sticking with me. As always, just want to thank you so much for the support on this channel, for the support on my store, and just for this community at large, because you all are amazing, so supportive and so kind, and I just appreciate the heck out of you. For those of you that are on your own personal finance journey, I want to wish you a simple budget, a calm mind, and a happy life. Thanks so much for watching, guys, and we'll see you in the next one.